Okay, add and subtract fractions. So like fractions, if you weren't sure what like fractions were, they have the same denominators, the same bottom number. So here's an example of adding fractions with like denominators. 1/3 plus 1/3. They both have a 3 as the denominator. 2/7 plus 3/7. They are like fractions because they have the same denominator. And same thing over here, 2/3 minus 1/3, same denominator of 3, and 6/7 minus 3/7, both have a denominator of 7. So when you are adding or subtracting with like fractions, you'll add the numerators if it's an addition problem, and you'll subtract the numerators if it's a subtraction problem. Keep the denominators they already share, and then simplify if needed. So for example here, 1/3 plus 1/3, add the numerator, so 1 plus 1 equals 2, and keep the 3 as the denominator. This doesn't need to be simplified, so that's your answer. So right there is your answer. Okay, so if I look at the next one, 2/7 plus 3/7, add the numerators, 2 plus 3 is 5, keep the denominator as 7, so 5/7 is your final answer because it does not need to be simplified. Now for subtracting, it says to subtract the numerators, keep the denominators that they already share. So here, 2/3 minus 1/3. Subtract the numerators, 2 minus 1 gives you 1. Keep the 3 as the denominator. That doesn't need to be simplified, so that is your final answer. Now here, 6/7 minus 3/7, the denominators are the same, good. So 6 minus 3 gives you 3. Keep the denominator of 7, and that is simplified. So that's what you do when you're adding or subtracting with like fractions, meaning they have the same denominator. But then when you get to unlike fractions, there's a little bit extra that you'll need to do. Okay, they must have a common denominator. If they don't, you're going to have to figure that out. There's multiple options. The first way is to list out the common multiples to determine the common denominator. So between 1 and 3, 1/3 and 1/2, you look at the denominators of 3 and 2. Multiples of 3 would be 3, 6, 9, 12, and so on. And then you would list out some of the multiples of 2, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and you would find the least common multiple. And in this case, the 6's were the least common that they shared. So then I would take that, I would go from here below, it says change the denominators to the least common multiples. So 1/3, in order to get a denominator of 6, you would have to do 3 times 2, which would give you 6. But what you do to the denominator, you also have to do to the numerator. So also 1 times 2. So here, you can see here, would give you 2. And then I go down to the next fraction. My denominator was 2, but I need it to be 6, and I'll have to do 2 times 3, which will give me 6, and what I do to the denominator, I will also do to the numerator, and 1 times 3 will give me 3. So now my fractions are ready to add because they have a common denominator of 6. So 2/6 plus 3/6. If I were to actually add those, I'd follow the rules from up above. It says add the numerators, so 2 plus 3 gives you 5. Keep the denominator the same. That is simplified, so that's your final answer. Now the next method, which actually many preferred this other option, which is this butterfly. So the butterfly method, let's take a look. We have the fractions 6/7 minus 2/3. They don't have a common denominator. So in this one, it says to multiply the diagonals to get new numerators. You'll multiply denominators to get a common denominator. So the way this works is, if you can see here, circled in red, you'll multiply these diagonals together, and those will make the left antenna. So 6 times 3 would give you the antenna of 18 up here. Then you would multiply 7 times 2, and you would get the right antenna of